There was nothing like sitting in your friend's basement and powering up the old PlayStation. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 PlayStation 1 multiplayer games. For this list, we're looking at our favorite games released for the PlayStation, which incorporated a significant multiplayer aspect. Any form of multiplayer is welcome here, whether it be cooperative gameplay or competitive. As long as 2 or more players were able to take part at once, the game will be considered. Number 10, Jet Moto 3. Serving as the third and final entry in the Jet Moto series, this installment improved upon its predecessors in many ways and provided gamers with a unique racing experience, and probably a few broken controllers as well. In this game, players control not the cars or motorcycles of typical racing games, but hover bikes, which can be used both on land and water. The graphics were gorgeous for the time, and the game took players to exotic locations like a volcano and real-life World Heritage Site Machu Picchu. The courses provided hours of entertainment and plenty of opportunity for a little friendly rivalry. While sales of this game were unfortunately poor, it was still a blast, and you can't tell us any different. Number 9, Soul Blade.
I will not rest until I reap vengeance for my father.
Originally released to arcades in 1995 as Soul Edge, this game was upgraded and ported to the PlayStation, where it became Soul Blade and kicked off a hugely successful series of fighting games. While fighting games had been popular for many years before its release, Soul Blade had various gameplay elements which made it unique, including the weapon gauge, which would deplete upon consistent blocking and force the player to finish the round without their weapon. The fighting was chaotic and visually stunning, giving players a feast for the eyes as their characters duked it out on screen. The game was a huge success and proved that you didn't need excessive amounts of blood and gore in your fighting game to have a good time. Number 8, Need for Speed 3: Hot Pursuit. While the first game in the series incorporated police chases, they were limited to only one car, which had very rudimentary AI. Enter this third installment, which provided a racing game like no other at the time. The number of police cars on the road was much greater, and their AI was significantly improved, as they were able to create roadblocks and deploy spike strips in order to stop your car. What resulted were some magnificently and highly intense races. Not only did players have to outrace each other, but they also had to evade the brutal and relentless police. It blended the thrill of a race and a police chase together into one complete and exhilarating escapade.
That's your best lap. You've won the race.
Number 7, Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Ready, fighters. Go for it, man!
Another popular arcade game that was ported to the PlayStation. Street Fighter Alpha 3 was a cornerstone of the Street Fighter series and proved to be one of the best outings. In the transition to the PlayStation, new characters joined the roster, giving fans a reason to play on consoles. That, and you could also stay inside and not spend extra money. The animation and production qualities were top-notch for the time, and all the classic characters were accounted for, providing a rich and complete package. The game also had tons of depth and unlockables, giving fans an excuse to play for countless hours as they unlocked new characters and locations. It was, without a doubt, one of the quintessential 2D fighting games. Number 6, Vigilante 8: Second Offense. If there's one thing that multiplayer is good for, it's blowing up your friends and laughing as you drive over their car's shattered pieces. Am I right? Well, that's really what this game is all about. While there was a cooperative mode, the core fun of this game came from simple deathmatch, which saw players driving around courses and blowing up their friends with various weapons, including homing missiles and mines. New to this installment were salvage points, which were earned by making kills and used to upgrade your ride. Number 5, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. While the first Tony Hawk game was successful and made skateboarding cool for a new generation of kids, the sequel improved upon the gameplay in every way. The result was one of the finest PlayStation games ever released. everything about this game was ramped up from the original, including more skateboarders, larger courses, and more complex objectives. There's simply nothing like cruising around the game's numerous locations and doing insane tricks with your butt, complete with the necessary exclamations of, "Oh man," and "gnarly, bro." While the series would eventually crash and burn, there was nothing like this game at the time, and it was fantastic. Number 4. Metal Slug X. Another port of a popular arcade game, Metal Slug X's transition to the consoles smoothed out some of the gameplay elements for a more rewarding playthrough. For example, the arcade version's infamous slowdown was fixed, giving PlayStation players a smoother and more enjoyable adventure. The gameplay was always frenzied, complete with non-stop enemies and constant explosions as the environment crumbled to dust around the players. The title also came equipped with a unique sense of humor, most notable of which is the ability to get fat and stab your enemies with a fork. This game provided countless hours of cooperative fun and was one of the best run-and-gun games of the 5th generation. Number 3. Twisted Metal 2. Drive around and shoot each other. There might not be much nuance to the gameplay here, but it's still a thrilling and memorable experience. This game sees players duke it out in ballistic missile-equipped cars through various arenas, with the simple objective of blowing up your enemies and surviving till the end. While the premise sounds simple, the gameplay is nevertheless extremely fun, as there's nothing more exhilarating than playing cat and mouse around the arena with your friends. It was the most successful of the Twisted Metal games, selling over 1.5 million copies and becoming a greatest hit on the PlayStation, proving that players couldn't get enough of gleeful vehicular carnage. Number 2. Crash Team Racing. Even though it was a blatant ripoff of Mario Kart, Crash Team Racing was an outstanding racing game and a fantastic send-off for Naughty Dog and Crash Bandicoot. Amazingly, the 4-player split screen ran incredibly well, as the game was able to keep pace with the incredible speed of the karts and the gorgeous detailed landscapes that they raced within. The gameplay was frenetic and challenging, and the maps were enormous and varied, with many different routes to explore and obstacles to overcome. It's one of the best kart racing games ever released, and certainly one of the PlayStation's greatest achievements. Before we get to our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Number 1. Tekken 3. The last Tekken game to be released for the PlayStation, Tekken 3 sent the series off in style and gave players one of the greatest fighting games to ever grace home consoles. This third installment brought many things to the series which led to its acclaim, including better graphics, fluid animation, and new characters who are now staples of the series, including Jin Kazama and Julia Chang. It was definitely one of the best games to play with friends and proved to be incredibly popular, selling 8.5 million copies and becoming the 4th best-selling PlayStation game of all time. There's no other fighting game like it, and it's now rightfully considered a masterpiece of the genre.
You win.
Do you agree with our list? What's your favorite multiplayer experience on the PlayStation? For more cooperative top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.